Welcome back to my channel. It is Candace with a K here, where I normally talk books, beauty, and kicks. Today I am giving my review of a book that I just finished that I absolutely enjoyed. It is The Secrets to a Southern Wedding by Cynthia Williams. Okay. I was given a copy of this book thanks to the people over at Hear Our Voices Tour for my review. And so everything in this review is going to be honest, open, candid. I want to start off by giving the biggest shout out to the illustrator for this cover. This cover is absolutely gorgeous, okay? I am like in love with this cover. So first off, the bob. You can't go wrong with the bob, okay? The bob is giving, the dress is giving. What you will find out is that they're in Georgia, so the peach tones, the chef's kiss. So shout out to the illustrator. Before I get into my review, I am going to give you a synopsis of the book, which I am taking straight from Amazon. And it reads, it's been years since Dr. Imani Kemp has returned home to Peachtree Cove, Georgia. As Tallahassee's most sought after OBGYN, she doesn't have much time for anything else. But when her mom announces she's marrying a man she just met on a dating app, Imani knows she has to put a stop to it immediately. Let her mom be hurt again after the disastrous way her last marriage ended? Absolutely not. Always her protector, Imani won't rest until her mom sees reason. She just never expected sparks to fly with the groom's son. After his mother's tragic death, Cyril, I'll be saying his name wrong, but I'm going to say it's Cyril. Cyril Dash and his father relocated to Peachtree Cove to escape the gossip and speculation. Now, in this quirky small town, they've made a new life for themselves, and after years of grief, his dad has finally found happiness again. And Cyril refuses to let Imani threaten that. The more determined he is to prove the strength of his dad's love, the more drawn he is to the beautiful, complicated woman who's determined to call off the wedding. But when Cyril's heartbreaking past comes to light, destiny won't be denied, because the secret to this Southern wedding is you never know how far you'll go in the name of love. Okay? Period. So this is my first time reading a book by this author. I'm not super familiar with their work. It does say here that it is a part of a series, which now I'm interested. So there's About Last Night and then The Secret to a Southern Wedding. Love it. So here from now on, they'll be full of spoilers. So if you have not read the book and you would like to read the book, you might want to exit now, but make sure you come back so that you can get in on this tea, or this sweet tea. I like that. I don't know what I expected. I didn't read the blurb before starting this book. And so when I read, The Secret to a Southern Wedding, I didn't know what that was going to be about. I assumed the main character would be the one to get married. But then when it finds out that her mom, who is now like divorced, on a dating app, met this man within like a few months, is getting married, I was like, okay, this is an interesting perspective to take the book. So Imani is living a state over from her mother. She drives back to her small hometown, and she has this obsession with corn dogs, which same sis. But she goes to get a corn dog from her favorite place. And while she's there, she sees this fine brother, and she ends up squirting mustard on his shirt. It becomes a whole thing. She gets to her mom's house, and the guy she squirted mustard on is the groom's son. So she was already feeling him before knowing who he was. And then she gets to the house and realizes this might be my future brother-in-law. When considering that, initially, as I was reading this, not knowing which direction it was going, I was a little weirded out. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, this sounds so gross. She's about to fall in love with her brother-in-law, future brother-in-law. And I know things can be different once you get to a certain age and you're much older, and it really doesn't matter as much, I guess. But it's just the dynamic is weird. Like, if I'm coming to family dinner with my dude, but my dude is my stepfather's son, like, wouldn't that just be weird? I thought it would be weird. But fast forwarding, because I just want to get to their relationship, they try to create this pact to like end it before the wedding. And so I thought, okay, well, I guess it's not as bad because their parents aren't together just yet. But I don't know. It was just weird turn of events. But nonetheless, they end up following each other, blah, 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 blah. That's the way the love story goes, of course. What I did find most interesting was the complexity of the characters. And I say that to say there are very few stories that highlight the ways that parents can impose their views on their children consciously or unconsciously. So Imani's mother was in a marriage with Imani's father that ended due to his infidelity. He was cheating, had a mistress, was feeding the mistress combo that he was going to leave his wife. The mistress ends up shooting Imani's mother. Luckily, she doesn't die. But after going through all of that, her mother started to impose on her, like, you don't need love. You know, just that rhetoric and narrative of like love not being the end all be all. And how that can kind of tarnish and taint a young growing woman's perspective on relationships, particularly if you've never seen your mother in another relationship and you saw the pain and the hurt from that previous relationship. And so I thought that was a very interesting perspective to highlight. And throughout the book, Imani is like, where's the mother who was men bashing and who hated love and all this? But that one man came around and changed it all. I kind of experienced that, or feel like I do experience that, because I've never seen that. And so I'm always like curious on how other people would navigate that. And I guess you just have to let people run their own love course. Right. Now, on the other hand, with Cyril, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Cyril. Let's just call him Cy, because CY is Cy. But is it Cyril? Either way, Cy and his father relocated from Baltimore after his mother was murdered, and the dad was considered a suspect. Also a very interesting perspective, because in what world would you expect your mother to marry someone who was suspected of murder? Although not convicted, because the guy who did it eventually confessed, but just the narrative and the notion around your mother potentially dating a suspected murderer is crazy. I thought that was interesting. I think another added layer to this book that makes it very dynamic is this small town aspect. I am a city girl through and through. I couldn't imagine living in a town where everybody knew your business. And that was making me angry. Because, like, why are y'all gossiping? Why does everybody know everybody? Why does everybody know what everybody is doing? Like, dang, where's the privacy? Can I get some privacy? Please. Like, I thought that was so interesting. So not being from a small town, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I was like, dang, they can't even kiss in the middle of the street. What I do appreciate is that oftentimes as Black women, we do minimize our accomplishments. With Imani being Doctor of the Year, it came with the idea that you were the diversity hire, or the diversity, you're here just to bring the diversity awareness or what have you. And for many Black women, myself included, we often feel that way because we are one of the only ones in these spaces, especially the higher up you go. And I think Cy offering alternative perspective, like, well, use your platform for better. If you are now in this position, use it to do something. I think that is so key, because so often as people move up, they forget those behind them. They forget to pull those behind them up with them. They forget to bring awareness to it. And I love that when Imani tried to use her platform for good to acknowledge that the biases that exist in the healthcare system, which we know to be tried and true, she up and left because they weren't acknowledging her opinions. You have me on this pedestal, so to speak, and you don't want to hear what I have to say. That's a problem. So I really liked that there was that activism piece sprinkled in, because as a Black woman particularly, we know how the healthcare system can be towards us and our feelings. And so acknowledging the biases that exist and using, you know, the power to make some change. I love that. I recently went on a whole, like, not a tangent, but like I expressed frustration with how authors were sprinkling in therapy into books, right? And here I'm about to contradict myself, because one thing I would have wanted to see is in which ways they dealt with that grief on both sides. Like, what were the coping strategies used for these people? And of course, this is not Cynthia Williams' job to give me the tools from a book, but I think it would have been an interesting perspective to just hear how they worked through it. Because escaping or running is what they ultimately did, but did it help? Obviously, the dad found love in the mom, so there was something there. Imani escaped to Florida for her career and whatnot, but she ended up coming back. So there's a meta narrative under there that running away from your problems don't always work. It could, but it also couldn't. I just would have liked to see some of the coping things. I think as far as romance goes, this is just enough spice to push you along. It wasn't super spicy, which is great. It focused on the story, it focused on the town, it focused on their relationship and them building. I love when I see the title in the book. And so the secret to a Southern wedding is to go down south, meet your girl, fall in love. Which, do I need to go to the South? Like, what? But I loved that. And I think this was a great read. I enjoyed it. I would probably rate it 3.5 stars. It's not a full 4 for me, only because I like a little spice. But I did really thoroughly enjoy it, and I would for sure recommend you to read it because it's a great book. Once again, the illustrator ate down. Shout out to the illustrator. I think overall it's a very simple, quick, easy read. Oh, I want to encourage you to follow Candace with the K Reads on Instagram. That is where I post all of my book related stuff. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so that I can see you in my next video. Peace.